A look at this chart from earlier this week, you will see that Singapore has already flattened the curve. So what can we learn from Singapore? Joining me now exclusively is the Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong. Welcome, Prime Minister.
Good evening.
Tell us what you think Singapore got right. I mean, many people look at the fact that you got in very early. You developed a test the minute the sequences were published, and you developed a nucleic acid test. Do you think that it was that? How do you, what do you think is the key to your success?
I hesitate to talk about success because we are right in the midst of a battle which is intensifying. We've tried very hard right from the beginning to take this very seriously. We watched what was happening in Wuhan in China. We prepared our people. In fact, we've been preparing for this since SARS, which was 17 years ago. And as the cases started to come in, we were able to identify them because we said, well, treatment for COVID-19 will be free and testing. And we were able also to contact trace and find the contacts of the people who had come in and isolate the contacts so that we slow down the spread within the population. And we've tried very hard also to explain to the population what it is we are facing, what we need to do, and what are the steps which we need them to cooperate with us so that our efforts can succeed, such as keeping safe distances from one another, such as watching their own personal hygiene, such as staying home if they're sick and not going to work and not socializing. And with great effort, I think it has helped to keep the number of cases down, but I'm under no illusions that we have won. We are just going in, and there's a long battle ahead.
So let me ask you about contact tracing, because that is one of the things that you seem to have done particularly well. You used people's phones the minute somebody was diagnosed and tried to figure out exactly where they had been. You now even have an app which people can get to tell them if they are close to somebody else who might have tested positive. How difficult was it to do all this?
We have not been using phone data. We have been interviewing people, asking them, interviewing them, tracking down their contacts, interviewing their contacts, trying to piece a story together. It's traditional detective work and patient work. And we hope to get a quick answer out within a couple of hours. But in fact, we've pursued the cases for days to try and pin down who talked to whom and who might have given the virus to whom. We do have an app now which we hope will be able to track who has come into contact with somebody else who also has the app and who might be sick. But it's really work in progress, and we don't know yet how well that will work.
How do you respond to people who say, well, Singapore is able to do this because, you know, it has these controls, it is a paternalistic system, the government has more powers than in other places?
We have not taken extraordinary powers. I think the key thing is people must understand what we are facing and must support what we are doing and cooperate with us and have confidence in the government. And we put a lot of effort into explaining to them what is happening, speaking to them, and I've done it a few times directly on television. So people know that we are level and we tell it straight. We are transparent. If there's bad news, we tell you. If there are things which need to be done, we also tell you. And I think that you have to maintain that trust, because if people don't trust you, even if you have the right measures, it's going to be very hard to get it implemented.
You've talked about the economic situation to your people, and you just came out with a second budget, even though you had planned in February for, you know, kind of relief budget. You've come out with a new budget that is 5 times, I think, larger. Yes. You described in your speech, you said this is not going to be a V-shaped recovery. It's not going to be a U-shaped recovery. Right now, it just feels like it's going down. Explain what you think the economic consequences here are.
Well, first of all, there's a direct impact on certain sectors. Aviation has died, for example. Tourism is dead. And all the travel industry which is associated with that, the hotels, are in considerable difficulties. So that's an impact which is not going to go away in a hurry. Secondly, supply chains are getting disrupted. because other countries are not operating at full steam, their economies are locked down, and so supplies are not coming in, and our production is also affected, and our exports are also affected, and that's a broad-based impact on the rest of the economy. Then you've got the self-employed, the gig economy, the people who depend on entertainment, who depend on normal socializing, who get jobs day by day, and those jobs have all evaporated. And I don't see that coming back until such time as people gain confidence that they have a hold on the virus, that we can resume normal socializing, normal traveling, normal human intercourse. And I think that's quite some time down the road.
What does it mean? What does it mean, Prime Minister, to get a hold on the virus? Because there are these theories. You have to develop herd immunity, which would mean, infecting 40% of the population or so. Or does it really just have to wait for that vaccine or perfect therapy?
Well, if you're going for herd immunity, you have to have a big proportion of the population infected. Angela Merkel, who speaks very carefully, talked about 70% of the German population, possibly. And, well, if we have to go that route all the way, I think it's either going to be very, very painful, because there will be a huge spike and you will have an uncontrolled outbreak, as happened in some cities in northern Italy or in China. Or you have to flatten the curve, and it takes a very, very long time. So you've got to hope for an off-ramp to get off that path. And the only visible way to get an off-ramp is to have either a treatment or an effective vaccine. And that's some distance down the road, but many very smart people are working very hard at it. I can only hope and pray that they'll make some progress soon.